meet our friend, Steve, also known as Twos. Hi,
Twos.
Twos.
Look at
Oh,
that.
you're muted.
Oh, you're
You're
muted.
muted, Twosy. Hold on.
Unmute Twos.
Where is he? Nope. Oh,
sorry.
he's still muted.
There he
There
is.
he is.
I said hi. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, great
Hi,
shirt, buddy.
Yeah, well, I figured, when in Rome, wear your
Right?
favorite shirt.
Right. So
Yes.
we are watching the election results very carefully in between chatting and, killing time, because election bureaucrats are not known for their efficiency. We've learned over the last couple elections.
Disappointing. I mean, I went and voted today. So for those of you who don't know, I live in this riding. And, first thing you see when you walk in is a lady wearing a mask. And I'm like, I know who she's rooting for.
The NDP lawn sign for your face.
Basically. Yeah, it basically could have been orange, and that's the only thing that could have stood out even more than that. I mean, you're looking at small town Alberta in probably one of the most furthest right-wing ridings. And it was interesting. I think there was only about one NDP lawn sign, and it was my new neighbor. So there's that.
Yeah, that's about it.
Chase them out quick, Twos. Quick. Make it inhospitable in the area.
They seem nice enough other than that. I don't really know them that well. I only talked to them once. But it was interesting. Probably about 4 or 5 to 1 was the Republican Party signs to the Conservative Party signs. The Republican Party signs were everywhere.
Right, I saw that.
In multiple towns, not just mine. And the Conservative Party didn't do any door knocking as far as I know. Neither did the NDP for some reason. And I was kind of hoping to see Bill Tufts at some point come say hi, but he didn't. I don't think they had much of a ground game either, which was disappointing. I mean, I've got his book. He could have signed my book if he came by.
Right. Now, do we
have some? Oh, go ahead, Sheila.
No, I was going to say, do you think people have election fatigue? I was talking to Angelica, and she's in Republican HQ, and she was talking to some of their door knockers, and she said some people are saying they didn't even know there was another election going on, like a by-election going on. Are people just over this? Are they just like they're just
democracy
in general?
In general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Albertans are a little bit tired of just not really having good options.
Yeah.
And when they do actually get good options, they don't necessarily even take advantage of it or realize it. And it was maybe a little bit advertised. Like I heard about it on the Olds local radio, and that was kind of about it. A little bit of chatter here and there on the internet, but that's just because the people I follow are the kind of people who would be interested in that. That doesn't really represent the status quo, I suppose.
Yeah, they're engaged. They're already politically engaged, so they would be talking about it. Yeah, but by-elections historically typically have historically low voter turnout, and this often offers an opportunity for littler or less known parties to get a foot in the door. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Republican Party of Alberta does in especially your riding. Sheila, do we have any results coming in? Any additional results coming in?
We've got a few. So no surprise to anybody. Edmonton Strathcona with about half the polls back. Libs 95, which I remain constantly surprised that the Liberal Party exists provincially. The NDP, this is Nenshi, finally getting a seat, 2,240. The Alberta Party, which again remains surprised they exist, with 43. The Republicans have 22 in the deep socialist riding of Edmonton Strathcona. A UCP, Darby Crouch, has 434, and she was sort of a sacrifice candidate, I think, there.
Yep.
So that's no surprise. Edmonton Ellerslie, that's the riding that twice gave us Rod Loyola. And I understand, as I said, the first time. You didn't know him. A lot of people were paper candidates in 2015, but they elected him a second time after we knew everything about him.
And he almost became a Liberal candidate as well.
Right. Very close until his history of being a socialist beatnik socialist is too kind. Communist beatnik
Mhm.
was sort of caught up with him. It was a bridge too far for the Liberals of all people. Although I did appreciate the efficiency of cutting out the middleman of Jagmeet Singh and just run for the Liberals, even if you're in the NDP. There's something to be said for that. But the UCP were, I think they're far more competitive in this riding than people chalked them up to be. I think they worked really hard in this riding. The NDP are at 978, again, under half reporting, 978, and the UCP are 667. So as was pointed out
That's
by
2/3. That's not bad.
Yeah, and as was pointed out by Tarek El Naga, this was a blowout twice for Loyola. So even if they're, competitive, that's I think good. And the Republicans, 81 votes there. That actually surprises me. That seems like a lot for them in that really ethnic riding. And then we've got Olds-Didsbury-Three Hills, which
Here's
is
yours, Tuesday. Here it comes.
Here's yours. The Liberals with a 0. You guys give yourself a pat on the back.
Well, they didn't run a candidate is the reason why.
Oh, dang
so
it.
there was 4 on the ballot.
Couldn't even bother.
Oh.
You know what? Save what little resources they have, because as I learned off the top of the show, their leader got sort of stuck with the job. He was the interim leader in 2021, and then nobody else showed up to take it from him. And he's like, I guess I'm the leader now.
He didn't even want to run. They just said, this is your job. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Rogovian or whatever.
Yeah. Rogovian or something. He didn't want it. He just sort of got stuck with it.
I can't remember exactly how to say the name, but it's got more G's than a rap video.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's so funny.
More G's than a rap video. Oh, God.
NDP 559 seems high.
It does.
Republican Party. Now, here's my bar for victory for the Republican Party. And I mean, like, victory as a party and not in the riding. If they do better than the NDP, because Alberta's a 2-party state, I think that is good. That's good for them.
Yeah.
So Republicans are at 951, and the UCP, of course, are at 2,035. So I guess the Juno News Desk was right in calling it for the UCP. Rebel News Desk. This one that my computer sits on, I'm calling it for the UCP there.
It's probably fair. I think that this is a really good turnout, because you look at this. This is the only by-election where the UCP has anything to lose, and they've got a little less than a third of. The Republicans have a little less than a third of the UCP votes. The way the count is right now, that's quite a lot. I'm sure the UCP people are going to be looking at this and saying, there's a lot of ridings where we can't afford to lose this many votes.
Yeah.
It's not a fringe minority. Like, to Danielle's credit, she did say that a few weeks ago. And we need to listen to what the people are telling us in this. And that's the thing about by-elections. Like, Lise, you were saying, and you're absolutely right, they historically have really low turnovers, which is frustrating, because when you look at this, these are the key places where you can send messages to the people in power. These are the points where you could say, look, if they lost this seat, they've still got a majority. They're laughing. Nothing really changes. But when they look at it and say, we can't afford to lose very many more seats, we need to take stock of this. We need to change directions, and we need to actually listen to the will of the people. Sean and I were talking last week about populism, and how I was just astounded that it's an actual word for having an elected representative who listens to what the people want and gives them what they want, as opposed to just being, that's it. That's the way it is. But the cynic in me looks at it, and we're so out of touch in terms of the people that represent us that we actually have a name for a politician who does what the people want him to do.
Who listens to you.
Yeah.
Isn't it mind-blowing that we have anything other than that? Anything
that's
other
exactly
than that?
it. How is there a word for this? It should just be
democracy.
Universe.
That's what that's what I think the majority of Canadians think democracy is, when in fact with our party system and the way that it operates, with Ottawa being so terribly far away, and with the electoral boundary disparity between the East and the West, none of our politicians can do what the people want. None of them. They toe the party line. And this is one of the complaints that so many Canadians have, is when the parties don't listen to us, and we get all frustrated at them. Well, they're doing what they have to do to win, but that means not serving the people that elected them. So
absolutely, and you're right about Ottawa being so far away. Where I am right now, most of the continental U.S., about a third of Mexico, and parts of Russia are closer to me right now than Ottawa is.
Right.
Geographically speaking, it would make more sense for us to have this conversation in Spanish than for me to send all of my money to fucking Quebec.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly that. I agree.
Can I say that on the air?
Well,
you did.
You could have said it without the F word, but that's okay.
Okay, all right. We'll tone it down. Sorry.
We love the passion. That's what we'll say.
I had this realization, like when Ezra flew to Bermuda to the Brookfield bike shop.
The non-existent one.
Yeah, and it was a 3-hour flight from Toronto, and I was like,
"What?
Closer? That's closer than for me to get to Toronto. Ezra can go to Bermuda." And I'm like,
how many countries does he have to fly over to get there?
Right? Yeah.
2.
Like it was several.
Brent Butt had this joke back in the day when he was still doing stand-up, where he was touring in Europe, and he was trying to explain to people how big Canada was compared to Europe. And he's like, well, it takes us like 6 or 8 hours to fly from one end of the country to the other. And then the guy said to him, he said, well, how slow are your planes?
But when you think about it, Europe is... It's okay that Europe is broken up into a bunch of countries where there are distinct governmental systems and distinct cultures and distinct languges.
Where they do things differently, they think differently.
Yeah, and so you look at Europe and it's like, yeah, of course, it's so, it would not make sense for it to be all one thing. And then you look at Canada and it's like, yeah.
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing? Like, we have as much in common as Sweden has with Iran. You know what and yet in that space, Canada would be encapsulated in that space. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, but some parts of Toronto feel very much like Iran.
It's a proxy.
And some parts of Sweden feel very much like Iran.
And
to be fair, there are significant times of the year where you don't want to be outside for long periods of time in both places.
Definitely.
That's right. That's definitely
right. Twos, I want your predictions. What percentage of the vote do you think in your riding are the Republicans going to get?
Probably somewhere around 20.
Which is going to be... That's my number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. So I basically came in hot. I just finished slow pitch. Quickly changed shirts, changed hats, sat down in front of here, and thank you. And it was funny because I'm just sitting down, and then Mrs. Twos is like, well, did we win? And I was like, yeah, we smoked them. Like, what? And then
are we packed? Like, are we leaving?
Yeah. And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't even close. We probably had like 20 runs.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Poor woman.
Not the ball game. Not the ball game. The other race. Yeah.
And the results are coming in so slowly. Now, the desire to be independent is not manifesting at the ballot box. I didn't think it would, because I think a lot of people are unsure if this is a movement of a party or a movement of the people that spans parties. And it was my prediction at the beginning of the show that this might be the decision, sort of the marker where this goes towards like a citizen-led education referendum sort of thing versus, okay, we got to get behind this political party. Sure, we might risk the NDP getting back in power in some ridings, but this is the way forward. I thought today would be sort of the decider on that. What do you think?
Well, I think this is about the best they could have hoped for. When you look
Yeah.
at it, the vote had to split. I think they had something like 74% in the last election.
Yeah.
Nathan Callum or Callum
Nathan Cooper.
Cooper. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, he got 75% of the vote in the
70.
last
Yeah.
election.
So
Yeah.
that has to get split quite a few ways before the NDP scoops up the middle.
Right.
And so, but you still have people scared of that idea.
Of course.
You
The
still have
NDP was
people
it was
saying-
a dark time.
It was a dark time, but it wasn't really so much vote splitting. People forget because Jason Kenney came in and he was like, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't our fault. It was just vote splitting. And that was a lot easier pill to swallow than when people were so fed up with Jim Prentice and calling the election a year early and saying it was
44 years
Albertans'
of
fault.
corruption. Yeah.
And the Sky Palace and Thomas Lukazik and all of that
Right.
just gross stuff just piling up, and then just saying, well, what are you going to do? Vote for the socialists? And then eventually Albertan said, you know what? This is going to suck for us, but you're going to have to find a new job, and that's good enough.
Well, and I think for a lot of people too, the PCs after 44 years have been dragged so far to the middle and to the left on a lot of issues. There wasn't enough daylight between them and the NDP to make the NDP look as scary as they should have.
No, not at all.
This is what we're seeing in Saskatchewan right now. This is what we're seeing in Saskatchewan
absolutely.
right now with the Sask Party in power for 17 years and the NDP. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're identical on. Yep, exactly the same.
And the only thing that the Sask Party really has going for them is that the NDP still is doing stupid, insane things every once in a while. And so you just have to say, like, look, we're not that much different, but we're not crazy.
Right. Yeah,
and that's all it takes
the
to
NDP
win.
talks. Yeah, the NDP talks all the time. But it's
And
like,
this is why I love free speech.
Yeah, right.
It's not so much that I get to say things people are uncomfortable with. It's that stupid people get to say things that show people what they really are.
Yes.
And so,
Agreed.
but you're to your point though, Sheila, you're absolutely right. Like if you look at this candidate, pro-vaccine mandate, pronouns, she's according to her UCP, well, she lives in Acme, which is in the riding. But
no nomination.
No, that's the thing. It wasn't there was no nomination. It was just Danielle Smith saying, congratulations, this is the person we have selected to be your representative. Not elected representative, selected representative. And then also, when you read her bio with the UCP, she's got this history of promoting women in leadership and encouraging women in leadership. And the big thing that I think that most people have with that is that it takes away the question of whether they actually are there because they're the best person or because they're a woman.
They're ticking a DEI box. They're ticking, yes.
And I mean, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I imagine that this is something that probably rubs you because you guys are top tier.
Yeah.
And so you look at other people who are, oh, you're very welcome. But you look at other people who are just, maybe in kind of the same area, and you're like, did they get here because they're good, or did they get here just because they're a woman? Right. And that's literally what happened with her.
Right.
Like she literally got selected rather than doing the gauntlet, the nomination process, and having the people that she's supposed to be representing come to the conclusion that this is the best person for the job.
She didn't turn up for the debate either, did she? The debate was canceled because only Cam said he would debate.
So to their credit, so the original debate was going to be in Red Deer, and all of the candidates except for Tara Sawyer, the UCP candidate, said they could make it, and they said, well, if she can't come, we're going to cancel it. And they did one in Olds, and 3 of the candidates were there, including Tara. The NDP candidate, probably very smartly, did not go to Olds for that. And so they did have kind of a last-minute backup one. I don't know how well it was attended. I wanted to go to it, but life.
Right.
So to her limited defense, she did make it, which I was all ready to be on the mashup on Friday and just be like, you should never, it doesn't matter what party, it doesn't matter who it is, if they can't even show up and tell you why they should vote for you or why you should vote for them, you do not. Because the Conservative Party federally, and then also to a lesser extent in Alberta has a track record of taking votes for granted.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yep. For sure they do. For sure. They know they don't have to work for them, so they don't dump the resources on us.
That's their way.
And they get in anyway. And then they fly out to Ottawa. They haven't even kicked the Alberta dirt off their boots yet, and they're already voting for dairy cartel protectionism.
Right. Right.
Make it make sense.
For shame.
Well, I mean, they're not worried about representing the people. They're worried about keeping their jobs. And that's it.
Yeah. And then the left says populism like it's a dirty word.
Isn't that
it's
crazy?
Just so weird.
It's actually the most attractive concept I've ever heard.
Right.
Like, to be completely honest, I want more of it.
Yeah.
You guys got the...
I know, right?
You got the ticker. Nicely done.
Thank you. The kids are working hard. They're working late. We got to remember, these guys, it's like 11:37 in Rebel News HQ.
Oh, you got the... Yeah?
Oh, no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say you're running from the HQ and they're still doing it. That's even more impressive. What were you going to say? Sorry, Lise.
What is your prediction for Edmonton Strathcona?
Blowout.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
and
it.
Ellerslie?
Yeah, well, probably roughly where it's at right now. Maybe just put another 0 on it, kind of thing. Like it's actually, if you look at it, it's getting a little bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, Rod Loyola took that riding with like 62% of the vote. So if they can chip away at the NDP there and tighten that up, I mean, that just speaks to how disliked Nenshi is amongst the NDP, but amongst Albertans in general.
I mean, it's no accident that he isn't running in Calgary. I used to live in Calgary, and he would have a tough time even in an NDP riding in Calgary, because he, one of those people who just shuts the door and everything falls over.
Right.
Side. It was basically how he left Calgary. Take the water, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can, because it's not under a restriction.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Jody Gondek had that millstone hung around her neck. And, whatever. I don't really care. I'm not one to defend her, but that didn't happen overnight.
No.
Right.
No.
And it was Nenshi, right? Like Nenshi
it didn't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And that's decades of infrastructure, ignoring infrastructure issues while prioritizing DEI and crazy climate things.
Yeah.
And kowtowing to the union in whatever they want and blowing all of their budget on having multiple people standing around leaning against shovels rather than actually getting work done.
Yeah. And a multi-billion-dollar climate plan. And declaring a climate emergency. And
solar panels for the new stadium.
Right. And then the yard garbage that they call public art down there. Was it Beaufort Towers?
Did you hear about
yard garbage?
Well, I don't know about the yard garbage specifically. I'm not sure if you're talking about something in general or something specific.
No, Beaufort Towers. Specifically Beaufort Towers.
Yes,
I'm like, are you trying to, is that a construction accident? Like what is
it? Looks like a high-rise in Iraq.
Right. After the strike. This is after Trump hits it with a bunker buster.
Well, I was in
she's
Calgary.
Like, it's art. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's they did our thing. That's plagiarism. Well, they literally got Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn medicine woman, to do a sculpture somewhere down in the south.
Oh my God.
They did. They spent.
How much did they pay her for that?
I can't remember. I think it was something like $70,000, but that would have included the materials and everything.
Rich people's busybody habits. God.
You're gonna get the woman from Octopussy to design a sculpture. And then
noted octopus artist.
Yeah. Well, no, but she was a Bond girl before she was Dr. Quinn medicine woman.
Right.
And then there was this pedestrian bridge up in the Northeast that they spent something like $36,000 to get some artisanal painter to do some nice big mural all up and down it. And then they realized about 3 weeks later that it was condemned and it needed to be torn down. And so if you drive by there now, they took down the whole bridge, but they left the painted pillars. Like it's supposed to
my
be there.
God.
But if you know
Right.
what happened, you realize that they're just like, well, how can we try and save face a little bit?
Right. We can't destroy the art that we just paid for, even though
Like
it's
the
no
paint's not
longer
even dry
functional.
yet, and we got to
Right.
bring in the wrecking ball.
Oh,
So,
no,
yeah.
Calgary. Well, it's so good to hear that other municipalities do dumb garbage with their taxpayer money too, because
No,
like
it isn't.
it is
No,
good to,
it's
like
not.
it makes me feel better living in like the woke epicenter of
We're
Saskatchewan
not
to know
the
that
worst.
this is happening.
Yeah, I
do-
guess. I mean, did you have a line to phone the river? Like, it's
Which
just-
apparently
Almost.
doesn't even go to it. You can't even hear the river. It goes to like some call center where you got to just, press 1 for this and press 2 for that.
I would have done it for
Apparently
half
the-
that. I would have ran my tap. You know what? If I for
$6.99 a minute. $6.99 a minute. I will.
$65,000? No, I would do it for 30. You can call the spare cell phone that's the landline for the house or the farm number, and
Yep.
I'll just run the tap. And you can give me $30,000 a year because I'm not as well known as Dr. Quinn, medicine woman. But yeah, you could phone the river. The boat runs through town. Go to the river.
Just
They
go
could have paid
outside.
for
Yeah.
Ubers to pick people up and take them to the river for cheaper.
Well, I mean, if you look at the way the Green Line's coming through, even before, like it's crazy. They're tearing down the historic part of Eau Claire to put in a train stop. And so you've got like one of the oldest parts of Calgary that's just being demolished and torn out. So that because it's the only decent place geographically where they can just place a train station. And then they're spending God knows how much. I remember like years ago when it first got announced, I was like, you know what? You could take everybody who lived in the areas that would be riding on that train and you could buy them all Teslas for less than what it would cost. And that was
Right.
back in the day.
Right. Without the cost overruns, without the project drawouts
Yeah.
where everything is drawn out 6 or 7 or 8 years, without the layers of consultants and, high priced experts that they bring in for all of this. And without the
Probably from
greenwashing.
California. Like, I feel
Right.
like they just called up Gavin Newsom and said, can you give us your playbook?
Yeah.
That's what they like to do. They like to look at equatorial supercenters and be like, oh, you guys got such great stuff. They go to conferences and start patting each other on the back.
Yeah. Although
Man, I
you went
wanna
to
do a-
LA and thought they had great stuff. So you went there and you saw the resurgence of bubonic plague, the rats, the riots, the fires,
the toilets on the
feces.
streets,
homelessness,
the street
the-
toilets. Yeah.
yeah, the shoplifting so much that the Walmarts close and pack up. And you thought, you know what? Give me
I
some of
want
that.
that. I
Give
want
me
that
it.
for us.
I mean, like governments all across Canada have this long history of saying that, these big infrastructure projects, it's good to go over budget because it does more to spur the economy, like the Borden Bridge. So between North Battleford and Saskatoon, there's that
Oh, it's
Borden
famous.
Bridge.
Yeah.
And the old one that's still there, with the cement arches and everything like that, they went with that when it first got built rather than steel. And the decision was made strictly because that way was more expensive.
Huh.
Just-
Really?
Yeah.
A quite literal make work project.
Yeah. Like you may as well just, if that's the case, build it out of steel and just cut everybody checks.
Right.
Right.
Or
Right.
just don't tax them.
Right. You could have gone with the more economical option. It is a very famous bridge if you're in Saskatchewan and make your
Oh,
way
I've
north.
caught a lot of fish underneath it. I know exactly all about
Heck
that bridge.
yeah. It's a great little hangout spot to hang
Yeah.
out in the van too. Yeah.
All right. I think we got to wrap it up with twos because we got some chats to get through. And Angelica is at Republican HQ when Camp Davies takes the stage for his obvious concession speech.
Yeah.
We're going to run that. Twos, thank you so much for jumping on and going
Yeah,
a little
buddy.
extra
Thanks for
long with
having me.
us. Yeah, it was great. It's like I've been saying to many of our guests, my shame and regret that you are not on Rebel News more, and I will change that because
But now that
I
yeah,
have
now
those
that
powers.
we've done this, we're just gonna do it a whole bunch more. Yeah,
Well,
Tuesday, you're
that
just
would
the
be
best.
perfect. I love that you guys invited me. It means a whole lot. And assuming that the audience doesn't hate me,
No,
be happy to come back
Oh,
anytime.
They're
Guys,
gonna love you. I can tell already. I can
All
say
right.
you are,
let us
you are
know
our guy.
let us know in the chats what you think about 222s being on the show. And before we let you go, let people know where they can find all the work that you do and the funniness that you do.
Twitter mostly at 222 minutes, and then every Friday on the Sean Newman podcast, he and I do this thing called the mashup, where we run rapid fire through everything that's been happening in the news in the past week. There's a lot of mocking stupid people making bad decisions, and getting frustrated with the current state of the world, primarily in Canada.
Yeah, sounds like the daily cringe.
But sometimes it's really funny.
Yeah,
it is delightfully hilarious. And we are so happy to have you twos. Really, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks. We'll talk
thanks a lot,
super
ladies.
soon. Bye.
Yes.